Hey YouTube, back with another video from Kyiv, Ukraine. And as I was trying to decide what to do a video on, I thought I would be remiss if I didn't do a video on why I was in Kyiv in the first place. So, Laskavo Prosimodo Institut Međunarodnih Odnosa, or welcome to the Institute of International Relations. Taras Shevchenko University, also known locally as KNU or Kyiv National University, was founded in July 1834 by Tsar Nikolai I of Russia, although it was under a different name then. The university has 5 separate faculties and 15 different administrations or departments. I don't want to sit here and try to give you a history lesson because not only will I not do it justice, the university itself has contributed quite a bit of time to their webpage and has a pretty extensive history, so I will post links so you can read that, because like they say, don't reinvent the wheel. One small piece of history I do like to share is the building right behind me. This is where during Soviet times the political and military elites sent their children to study. So it's actually kind of cool being able to walk through the same hallways and, you know, kind of get to live a little piece of, or get to experience a little piece of living history. So now this is where all the classes are primarily taught at the Institute of International Relations, and there is also a dorm building, I guess, connected to it. So probably wondering how, as an American, did I end up in Kyiv going to school at the KNU? Well, great question. How much does it cost? Also a great question. How easy was it? Not so easy of a question, but also a great question. And while I don't want to sit out here and tell you that entire story, there, that's much better. Although I seem to have lost my hat and a few hours of daylight. Anyway, so a lot of you are probably wondering some of the questions I discussed earlier. How did I end up here? How much does it cost? How difficult is it to do the application and just actually get to Ukraine and start school? So I'll try to go through each one of these things in turn. However, there is one thing I probably should address before I start. I know most of you probably haven't noticed, but I'm actually not the typical age of a college student. That's right, I'm a little bit older. How old? None of your business. Anyway, so basically, I was living in Germany at the time, and I was a mid-career contract worker, and my contract came to an end, and I had the choice at the time to move back to the U.S. Or do whatever I want, really, and I chose to come to Kyiv and start a master's degree. This is actually my 3rd master's degree, so this is the college experience, especially at the master's level, is not something that's new to me. However, this experience of moving to Kyiv was certainly new to me and very unique. It was probably a little easier for me because I was living in Germany. I ended up coming most of the way here by private vehicle, the rest of the way by train, so I didn't have to fly back and forth and, you know, mess with customs in that sense or anything like that. So there were a few things though I did need to do before I moved here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you need to pick a university, decide which one you want to do. As I said earlier, I'm attending Taras Shevchenko University in Kyiv. I'm doing a master's program in Eastern European Studies at the Institute of International Relations. My program I'm taking is in English. It's taught in English. So programs here, or classes here, are primarily taught in Ukrainian or English. There are a lot of students who, from countries all over the world, they choose to come here and they do 1 year of language study at the preparatory department, usually either in Ukrainian or Russian. Since my program was in English, I didn't have to take the preparatory classes, and since I'm a native English speaker, I didn't have to take the English placement test. So as a foreign student, if you're not a native English speaker, you will have to take an English proficiency test, but I have no advice on how difficult or easy that was or anything. So you could reach out to the university and they probably can give you a little bit more idea of what that test encompasses than I can. So what I did, there's a few different ways to do it. You can go directly through the university and try to submit your documents and everything that way. Or I went to a website, the Ministry of Education has a website set up here, and it's just Study in Ukraine, and I will put that in the link description of this video. So I went to this website. I'd already had a university in mind. I had a program in mind. I went and I basically, all pull down menus. I chose my university. I chose the program I wanted to study. I chose the semester I wanted to start, and then it had a series of documents I needed to upload just for verification purposes, such as university transcripts and things like that. So I went ahead and did this, and then this is a pay service. Even though it's put on by the Ministry of Education, you still have to pay for this service. The total price with everything, with them coming to pick you up at the airport and everything, was $200 US. I only used it so far as to get my invitation to study, and that cost me $100. So for me, it saved me a lot of time. It saved me a lot of hassle, a lot of paperwork. And so once I received that invitation, or they told me I'd had that invitation to study, you actually have to have the original in your hand before you can go apply for your visa. Your student visa that you get at the Ukrainian embassy or consulate in your city, whatever's closest to you. Will only end up being good for about 90 days, and you use that to get into country on a student visa, and then you apply for your temporary residence permit. The university helps you do all that paperwork. It saves you a lot of hassle, and you don't have to deal with especially if there's a language barrier, you don't have to try to deal with those people. So I got a notification that I received my invitation to study letter. I flew over here from Germany about 3 or 4 months before I moved here. Picked up the letter, and then I went by the university preparatory department just to see, how everything was, or how it basically was all my paperwork in order. And so I went in and talked to a few people, and they told me all the paperwork I needed. And even though I already had 2 master's degrees, they did not want those transcripts because I'm in a master's program. They only wanted my master's transcripts if I was doing a PhD. But since I was only doing a master's program, they wanted my bachelor's degrees transcripts, and they wanted my high school transcripts, which are from decades ago, and they had to have them. So they also needed a birth certificate, and all of these things had to be signed and certified by a notary public back in the U.S. Now, granted, this is my experience as an American, so your country probably may have a little bit different process the way they do things, and I would check with the university or the Ministry of Education on their requirements for your particular country. So for the U.S., I had to have my birth certificate, my high school transcripts, and my college transcripts. I had to have them all notarized certified by a public notary. Then I had to have them all certified by something called an apostille. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's APOSTILLE. I have no idea what that is. I came here, they told me that. I'm glad they told me, or else I would have moved here without this certification on my documents and not been able to, complete my enrollment in university. So basically what this is, it is an agreement between certain countries that if these documents are certified by an apostille, or however you pronounce it, that the other country will accept this as a true certified and authentic document. Like I said, I didn't know what it was. I actually was here, I picked up the phone, I called my mom, and I said, "Mom, do you know what an apostille is?" And she says, "You mean like from a church?" Anyway, so once I got through that ordeal, I was able to find out what an apostille was. And here is a piece of advice if you're an American. The first thing I did, like any red-blooded American, is I Googled what's an apostille. And I started finding all these different sites for, I'm from Missouri, so I started finding all these sites in Missouri, Hey, I can get any document certified by an apostle, apostle service, apostle certification service, all this. So one of them I found wanted $175 for your first document and $100 for each additional document to actually certify. So I did a little bit more searching, and I found the actual apostle, I guess it would be like the office at my state branch. So in Missouri, it was in Jefferson City, which is where my state legislature is. And so I called this, number, and I talked to a woman, and she gave me the specific website. And I went to their website and looked. You can have these documents notarized by a notary public, and have that notary, or you yourself can send them straight to the apostle, and they at the state level, and they will do it for you for $20 a document. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize, I take that back. It was $10 a document. And so I just saved myself that much money. So there's a little freebie for you. Now I do have in my class, there are 5 of us in my class, by the way. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But one of my classmates is Canadian. Canada does not have an apostille agreement with Ukraine. So he had to do something different. He had to do something like, he already lived here, so he had to go by his embassy here and have the embassy sign off on his educational documents as certified and authentic, something like that. It's going to be different for each one of you. Depends on what country you're from. So like I said, I would get a hold of the university or get a hold of the Ministry of Education of Ukraine and determine what the necessary requirements are for you in your particular country. So one of the things I do like about my class here is my class is small. There are 5 of us in class. It's myself, a Canadian, a Azerbaijani, a who else we have? An Iraqi Kurd, and this semester we have a foreign exchange student from Portugal. So you can see there's pretty good mix of characters in class, and we all get along really well. But it's a small class, which is actually good because then you have more one-on-one time with the instructor, and it's just makes for a better learning environment. So a lot of people want to know, why did you end up in Ukraine? So I used to do a lot of reading and studying on Ukraine, and I kind of took it, learning about it as a personal hobby to myself. And so when my job ended, I had the chance to come here, and a good friend of mine gave me some advice. And basically his advice was, you know what? Hey, why not? If you're not going to do it now, you're never going to do it. So I thought, it's only 3 semesters. Master's program's only 3 semesters. And so I said, it's a pretty short break, considering, in the span of my life. And so I packed up my bags and moved over here. So one of there are probably 2 things that people look at when they look at going to university overseas, and these are in no particular order. And so I would say one is cost, and the other is just the experience as far as why you would want to go to a university overseas. So I'll go ahead and tap on both of those. Like I said, this is my my 3rd master's degree. So to put this in context, my first master's degree cost $55,000 US. My second master's degree cost $63,000 US. This master's degree is going to cost under $5,000 US. So a lot of people could think, oh, well, but that's from, university in Ukraine, doesn't mean anything. Actually, this university is an institute of higher learning. It is an accredited university, and it is still in one of the top 500 universities in the entire world. So that's definitely, if you're looking at cost for university, that's definitely a plus. And the other and probably the biggest reason for me to come over here personally was just for the experience. I've lived overseas for about 15 years. The bulk of that time was in Germany. I like kind of living, where I can just put myself out there and really, every time I walk out the door, maybe experience something new. That's definitely the case here. Being the fact that I don't speak the language, every time I walk out the door, it can be an adventure just for me to try to ask directions or something. But I'm getting better. So, but you can't beat the experience of having the experience of having the international experience. I would definitely recommend it. Now I'm not going to sugarcoat everything. There are some hurdles, there's some difficult things at the preparatory department here at my university, so it could be different somewhere else. But at my preparatory department, the registration process was pretty lengthy. I'm talking weeks, because some of the things here aren't digitized, and they still kind of use the old Soviet kind of institutional processes to do things. And so, but it's the way they do it. And one of the biggest pieces of advice I could give for any of you looking to travel overseas, if you haven't or live overseas, is before you go, just realize not every place is like it is at home. Even though you're used to doing something a certain way and it may make sense and may actually be more efficient, faster, doesn't mean that's the way it's done at the place that you're potentially looking to move. So the other piece of advice I would give you is always expect the unexpected. So that served me pretty well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else really that you would want to know about moving over here. I don't know. My experience has been really great. My experience is also a little unique because I tried to come over here from Germany. So I had a set of temporary export plates on my car from Germany to take it out of the system. I got through Poland, out of the border, but Ukraine wouldn't let me in with my temporary registration on my vehicle because I didn't have an import permit. I couldn't get the import permit until I came all the way here and got a tax ID number. I don't get a tax ID number because I'm a student here, and you're not supposed to work on your student visa and temporary permit. So I ended up having to sell my car en route. And then, that was in Poland, and then hop on a train, make my way into Lviv, Ukraine, and stay there for a couple days, and then make my way on into Kyiv. I did so with a backpack, 2 bags, a dog, and a cat. Yes, I brought my animals with me. So my experience was a little unique. Once I got here, I was in a hotel for about 6 weeks for 2 reasons. One, sometimes it's a little difficult to find landlords who want to rent to foreign exchange students here. I will say from what I hear, and I didn't experience this, but from what I hear, sometimes they can be a little prejudiced depending on what country you're from, and they may not want to rent to you. I got very lucky. The lady I'm renting the apartment from, her son goes to school, to university in Canada. She speaks pretty decent English, and she, set me up with him on WhatsApp and Viber. And so if I have any questions that she can't answer or her English isn't good enough, to understand, I can link up with him. So it helps me out. So that's one difficult thing. I was in a hotel for about 6 weeks here, and plus the other thing is, reason I was there for so long is, the length of the registration process at the preparatory department. I would have to go there almost every day, and so many people were there at the time I was there. It was just waiting, and so that's time that I could have been either on the internet or going to different real estate agents or something like that, trying to find a place to live. If any of you are already in the process and you need to try to find a place to live, let me know in the comments section. You can leave your email address. I can send you the email address to the real estate agent I used. I went through about 6 or 7 different real estate agents, and once I got a hold of this girl, she found me my apartment that I absolutely love in about 3 days. It's within walking distance from the university. It's a nice apartment. I don't really want to get into how much things cost as far as rent and things like that here. That's going to depend on what you want. I went for a newer apartment in a newer building with 2 levels of security, and so I pay a little bit more than most people do. There's some other expenses that you're going to have if you come to the university. Well, like I said, this is unique. My unique experience with my university. But some of the other expenses I had were I had to buy Ukrainian insurance, but for the entire length of my program, I think it cost around $80 US. I also have some supplemental insurance on the side that one of the other medical clinics takes here, so I would use that anyway. Once I got here, I had to also pay to have the the Ministry of Education, or one of the ministries, basically had to do an investigation to see if my university documents were real. They were supposed to reach out to my university and actually contact them and ask if I really got my bachelor's degree from there, which I didn't understand that, because if that's the case and I had to pay for that, also like another $80, what was the point of me having them certified by a notary public and then certified by an apostle? That's an agreement between nations. Whatever. Okay, so that's a few more things. So you will have some incidental costs and things like that. Tuition, like I said, tuition's pretty cheap here. My particular program, I've gotten lucky. I don't really have books. The professors every week are reading assignments they give you online. They're either websites to go to, read articles. They are literally scanned pages of books, and so you don't have the book expense. This semester, I did have to buy my first book. It was Foreign Policy of Ukraine, basically like a guidebook type thing. And I think new book for me, and I think the cost was $4.50. I had books in the States or at my master's level that were somewhere over $200 a piece. So like I said, you can save a lot of money. I think that's probably about it. If overall I've had a great experience. It's been unique. It hasn't been a cakewalk. I love living here. I like walking down the street, seeing some of the old, the things left over from the Soviet days, some of the mosaic, the sculptures or the mosaic tiles, all around. I like seeing the sights here. It's just a great city for me. The metro system is amazing, and that's something else too. If you happen to end up coming to school in Ukraine and you get a student ID, all your train tickets are half price. You can get a discount on the metro card that you will use to ride the underground metro or the street marshukas, the street trains like trolleys. And there's some buses that also will let you use that card on and not have to pay for each individual ride. So you get discounts on that, and there's quite a few things. You get discounts on museums and a lot of good things like that. Me just trying to get used to life here, going to the grocery stores. I do speak a little Russian. I do speak a little Ukrainian. I kind of mix the two, which they call surgic here. So I mix the two when I try to use either one of them, but people here, I guess that's kind of a normal thing sometimes. So, like I said, it's been an overall pretty good experience. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 lockdown has hit here too, and so the metros are shut. All the places that I'm trying to do videos on to show you guys are shut. And I hope we come through this pandemic, and I hope everything opens back up, because this will be my only full summer here in Kyiv, and so I do want to get out. travel outside the city, see some other surrounding areas, and then just really do a little more exploring in Kyiv. Like I said, it's a great metro system. You can get anywhere all over town with it. So I would the advice I would give you if you are coming here, and whatever district you decide to live in, I would probably try to find something relatively close to one of the metro stops. But that's what everybody here tries to do, so that can be maybe a little difficult at times. So I think I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap this up. I don't know what else you would want to know. Like I said, if you have any questions or anything, post them in the comments section. If you want me to send you any information or point you in the right direction, please feel free to put your email address and I'll reach out and contact you. Well, that's all for now. As always, if you like my content, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you soon.